All right, let's talk about a fear that so many people share, but we don't always get what's really going on behind it: arachnophobia. We're going to dig into what it is, where it comes from, and yeah, what you can actually do about it. So let's get right into it.
I mean, it's a great question, right? How can something so small create such a huge, powerful reaction in us? That's really the core mystery we're going to try and unravel today. What is it that turns this little creature into the source of a truly crippling fear?
So let's start with what we're actually talking about. Arachnophobia isn't just, not liking spiders. The keywords here are intense and irrational. This is a fear so powerful it can be set off by a picture or even just the thought of a spider being somewhere in the room. That's a whole different level.
And that difference is absolutely crucial. It brings us to our first major point, figuring out the line between a common fear and a real, full-blown phobia. Because believe me, the gap between them is huge.
This lays it out perfectly. Look, most people might see a spider and jump back for a second. Then they get a cup and a piece of paper and take it outside. A phobia, though, that's a totally different ballgame. We're talking about an instant, overwhelming sense of panic. It's not a choice, it's a deep, powerful instinct screaming at you to just get away.
So the big question is, where does a reaction that intense even come from? How does it start? In this next part, we're going to look at some of the most common origins of arachnophobia.
It turns out it's not just one thing. The fear can develop down a few different paths. For most people today, it comes down to personal experiences. So let's break these down one by one.
First up, and this one's pretty direct, is a bad experience. Maybe when you were a kid, a spider dropped down from the ceiling, or you were surprised by one in a dark shed. Just one single event like that can be powerful enough to forge a link in your brain, a link that connects spiders with pure terror, and that can last a lifetime.
The second cause is something I think a lot of us have seen. Fear can be contagious. If you grew up watching a parent totally freak out every time they saw a spider, you learn that behavior. You learn that spiders are something to scream and run away from. You basically absorb that fear right from your environment, even if you've never had a scary encounter yourself.
And finally, there's this idea of general anxiety. Some of us are just naturally wired to be a bit more anxious. For someone like that, a fear of spiders might just be one expression of a broader tendency to worry about threats in the world, whether that's heights or small spaces or, well, spiders.
Okay, so now we get the origins, but let's talk about the real-world impact. What does it actually feel like to live with this? How does this phobia cast a shadow over someone's everyday life?
When someone with arachnophobia is triggered, the reaction is not just in their head, it's physical. Their body goes into full-on fight or flight mode. We're talking about a sudden wave of panic, sweating, shaking, a heart that's just pounding. It's an incredibly real and distressing physical experience.
And this isn't just some brief scare that's over in a minute. It has real, lasting effects. People start to avoid places like basements or garages. They might give up hiking or gardening. This constant need to be on guard adds this layer of stress to everything, and it can really limit a person's freedom.
But, and this is so important, this is not a life sentence. That brings us to our final and honestly most hopeful part. There are clear, proven ways to manage and even overcome this fear.
The road to recovery is actually pretty well mapped out. Therapy is the #1 tool. You've got things like exposure therapy, which safely and gradually reintroduces you to what you fear, helping your brain unlearn the panic response. And then there's CBT, which helps you change the negative thought patterns themselves. These are often backed up with relaxation techniques to handle the anxiety in the moment, and for severe cases, medication can help create some stability. And I really want to end this part with this powerful and optimistic message. This is a treatable condition. It's not something you just have to live with forever. With the right support, most people can really truly reduce their fear and get back the parts of their life that it took away. So, let's leave it on this thought. When we really take the time to understand a fear like arachnophobia, and see it not as a silly weakness but as a complex human response with real causes and real solutions, we're building empathy. And it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? If we can get our heads around this, what other fears or biases or misunderstandings could we start to unravel next?